So speaking of people doing unusual things with games, because I've also been thinking about Metal Gear Solid lately, coincidentally. Um, our
It's
party,
everywhere now.
yeah, our party topic for today is talking about the return of live events and the different ways that, like post COVID, that the world is going to go back and do a lot of stuff. So before any of COVID started, so Party Invite used to be a lot more Kansas City centric, and I hosted a bunch of events where I met you guys. Um, just a bunch of casual things all over Kansas City, and I love doing that stuff. But in COVID, that wasn't possible. We just couldn't do that anymore. So none of that stuff has existed for a year and change. But now things are finally starting to open back up. Devi, you work at the local esports bar now. What not esports bar, the name, but the very cool. Um, Devi, how much can I dox you on the podcast right now?
It's fine. I mean, you already know we live in Kansas City, so
Yeah. The third biggest esports arena in the country, which is super cool. So we have all these places that are chomping at the bit to open back up. But what does that world look like? And when we were discussing this in our messenger chat today, it made me think of the Mortal Kombat movie is coming out as of this recording tomorrow or maybe tonight. I don't know how movie premieres work in
Nine
COVID.
technically.
But a friend invited me to a virtual reality viewing party where basically we all buy the movie, but we can all watch it together at the same time in VR, whatever that means. What I think it means, because my friend used to talk about this in the past, is basically when you view a movie in VR, you basically simulate a movie theater. So it's as if you're sitting in a movie theater seat and you're watching the movie on a big screen in front of you. The idea would be that if you and all your buddies want to watch the movie together, you have your avatars and you can actually like look around in the theater and see your friends and you can talk to them if you want. But I saw that and I'm not able to do that right now. All of my virtual reality stuff is packed up. But that idea is so cool to me because going to a movie theater seems obsolete, kind of. Unless I'm
yeah.
doing something special, like we did video game stuff in a movie theater, or when the Avengers movies came out, when the Infinity War and Endgame came out, I went with a whole bunch of people, and we bought the whole theater out for the showing, and we had 30 of us to see it together. That was fun. That was a special occasion. But as far as just like going to the theater like normal, it's kind of lost its luster for me. And now I'm looking for new ways to experience that. Well, this virtual reality thing is a perfect way to do that. But the segue there is that I wonder how many other social experiences we're going to see are going to either become totally online or some sort of hybrid where you can go to the LAN party event in person and or you can participate online, especially if they have virtual reality functionality where you can, just like VR chat, you can make a character and go talk to people who are at this like local event, whether they're there in person or not. But you've got that. You've got a bunch of ways where there are some games that need to be played in person, like fighting games, because you physically plug your fight stick into the system because you need the lowest amount of lag, which is why online fighting games struggle because you need as low lag input as possible. And when you're playing on a Wi-Fi internet connection with your friend, or if you're playing Smash Brothers and you have to buy the adapter for a LAN cable, I mean it's not ideal. So some of that stuff I think is going to come back the way it was before, but other stuff, I mean, do people care about meeting up the way that we used to? What's the future of like our arcades, like our local up down arcade bar? Like, is anything going to change on their end? I mean, for them, probably not. But for more than like niche places, I mean, a lot of them didn't survive through the pandemic. Not that we had a lot of them in Kansas City. But Debbie, what do you see going on at the level up? Right?
Yeah.
I kept wanting to call it up level. I don't know why. It doesn't even. Um,
Well, So that whole area down there, it's LevelUP Arena and then a couple of other bars. So LevelUP Arena is the esports arena for more competitive oriented play. The other bar is a casual oriented bar, and then there's the sports bar, and then there's a live music venue. All of this to say, last weekend I went to after I finished working, um, I went over to the live music venue because they had a band over there. And what you were talking about with the virtual viewing party, where it's like a hybrid experience or whatever, or it could be.
Hmm.
It was kind of like that because this band, which I've never actually seen before, um, talking about the method that they were doing, not the band themselves. Although it was the first time that I saw them. Um, they were doing their live performances or whatever, but they were also live streaming it to Facebook,
Hmm.
which I thought was like really cool. So like for people who know who they, because they're like also like a wedding band, so they traveled around the country to people's weddings and other special occasions. In fact, the next night they went to Georgia for a wedding.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they packed up their stuff and then they left and were on the road in the morning. Apparently, like they told us they were going to Georgia, and then on their Facebook they had wedding
Wow.
stuff. So
So they weren't lying. We can mark that down.
we can. They're trustworthy. Although
We'll
they didn't
follow
have any
them.
of the songs that I requested, but whatever.
Oh, wow.
Uh, they knew them. They just didn't know how to play them, which is different. So I can give them that. But I just think it was really neat that people who wanted to attend or hear the music or experience their live show could do that through the live stream. Um, Usually it's the audience live streaming it from their audience perspective. I've never actually seen personally a band do that. So it was really cool. If you were watching the live stream, you could suggest songs for them to play in the comments, or if you were there physically, you could do like a QR scanner.
Hmm.
So there's no contact or whatever. You didn't have to like go up and breathe or touch them or anything, which I thought was really considerate, considering it's still kind of a after what's it called? What is the word? The tail end of the pandemic,
Yeah.
basically. So I thought that was cool. So like things like concerts and stuff might go down that hybrid route where it might be appropriate to live stream. In the past, concerts were just like, don't use your phone, be in the moment, blah blah blah. But what if you don't? I mean, what if it's not safe? What if you're not vaccinated? What if you're like
Well, that's true,
immunocompromised?
but those things do already exist. It's really just a matter of their commercial viability. So, I've watched. I've never been to Coachella, and I don't have any intention to. But I watched Coachella maybe 2 years ago, and discovered. Actually, that's the first time I discovered Blackpink, the K-pop band.
Ah, I love Blackpink.
Among other ones. There was yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good music, and so Bonnaroo has done that too. A bunch of other festivals have done that, and not everything is streamed, but they want you to tune in, and they still make money off of ad revenue. So for me, like I've been able to watch, I mean, at least discover bands that I never would have otherwise seen because I wasn't able to attend. So those things have existed. Occasionally, some bands will stream from like Bonnaroo. I remember I watched Nine Inch Nails play at Lollapalooza maybe 6 years ago at this point, something like that. So those things have existed, but it really just depends on how things go. I will say this last year, Bonnaroo, the music festival, went totally virtual, but they did follow through, and they had a full weekend of shows that you could watch online. It was all like curated, and presumably pre-recorded. I mean, I
Right.
don't totally know that, but I don't see why it wouldn't be. But I would like to see more of that because my house is comfortable, and if I can experience things from the comfort of my own home, or at least have that option, that would be great. Like Chris, if Chris was here, Chris works in the music industry, and he can tell you more than anything or more than anyone that when you go to a show, you're not just paying to hear the music, you're paying to experience something with a bunch of other people as it's happening in front of you.
Right.
And so there really is no substitute for seeing a live concert. But if you want the substitute of being able to sit on your couch, then I think that's really cool. What I've been surprised at is that there hasn't been more, um, more like Fortnite concerts. Marshmello did a concert on there.
Yeah. Didn't
Somebody,
Dead Mouse too?
uh, maybe,
I think so.
And a couple of hip hop artists as well.
yeah. And I thought that was gonna like take off. Like I expected, honestly, by this point to have like a concert a month on Fortnite because of how successful it was. And I mean, just for the brand of Fortnite, like I would download Fortnite and jump in just to see one of those concerts because they're free. But it's a cool production that has found a way to go completely virtual. And if you can package it in a way that's familiar, like to gamers, that is easy to export like that, like there are plenty of people who would attend some goofy novelty concert in a video game just for fun and then discover, oh, I actually think this is cool. Like
Yeah.
attend ironically and then be like, so when's the next one? So I'm
I
surprised
mean,
we
not that I
didn't.
care anything. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh. I'm surprised we didn't see more of that in this past year, but I still would expect that we see more of that in the future. I would like to. I want more virtual reality everything. Once virtual reality starts getting into people's homes as more than just like a video game novelty, which
Right.
I still think that's all it is. There's lots of other cool stuff on it, but nobody knows that. I mean, like culturally, video like virtual reality is not something that's in everyone's homes. It's still got a ways to go to be that. But
Yeah, we're not quite at Ready Player One level yet.
no, but we'll get there. I believe.
I
You
hope
know,
we do in our lifetime because those suits seem like really fantastic.
it is pretty wild to think. I mean, stuff could be pretty nuts. I mean, the internet was just starting out like 20 years ago. So, really, these things could be definitely in our lifetime, which
I
is
was
an
pretty
exciting thought.
excited. I don't know if you got to see yet, Thomas, but one of the things about Returnal is the DualSense use.
Hmm.
And somebody put up, I think it was a YouTube short of they had their controller just sitting on their table, and it was raining in Returnal, and the raindrops were reflected in the DualSense, and it
Wow.
was amazing.
What?
So, yeah, little things like that, the haptics of the DualSense.
Dude, I
I
gotta
mean, we
say,
are definitely getting there.
I'm playing Control on the PS5 mode, and the haptic feedback, like every time my character takes a step, there's feedback. Like so, there's constantly feedback in my controller, and it feels good. It's really nice. Like the melee in that game, your character just like extends her hand forward and force pushes really hard against whatever's immediately in front of her, and when she does it, the environment around her like explodes practically, and the haptic feedback that your controller gets, every part about that feels so strong. And man, my kitty's singing back here again. I hope you guys can hear. I should have gotten a frame for her here on the podcast, but the haptic feedback in that is really impressive. And a friend of mine who is really big into tech, um, but not quite as big into video games, he has said that he believes VR, virtual reality, will get into people's homes when the controllers are more like people's hands. That when they feel less like a controller and they feel more like a part of your natural hand, then people will be ready to adopt them. Which I think is pretty true. I mean, whenever I play on a new, like a controller that has new functionality, it always shocks me. And like it might take me a minute to pick it up, but once I do, I've got it. But I think he's right about that, and based on like the haptic feedback of that, some of the wild contraptions that make things super immersive that we've seen over the past, decade. Uh, I mean, we're heading in the right direction. I don't know how soon we're going to get there, but I mean, we're definitely on the way.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons that I actually broke into VR was because I was just at the mall, um, and there was a Microsoft store that had this contest going on for a game called The Unspoken, which is basically like a mage battle game on. I think it's an Oculus exclusive. So they have that going on, and I tried out the game, and it was my first. Well, was it my first experience with VR? Anyway, so I tried out the game, and the big part of the gameplay of it is that you sign all of your spells. So there are different hand gestures in the game that you make when you want to use a spell,
Oh,
or if
it's
you want to
like the
block.
Kill Bill, the five-finger death punch, where you're just like,
I mean,
I cast my spell.
No, I mean it was like like actual individual like finger and hand gestures.
Like
So
ninjutsu kind of thing.
almost, yeah. And the fact that the controllers could do that I was just like, oh well, okay, I need to get this game. And so I mean it was a whole bunch of different gestures and everything too. And by the time I actually got it, which was like 2 years ago, whatever, the game had died, it made me sad. So now I have a Beat Saber machine. Um, but it was all that to say, what you're talking about, Thomas, is exactly what got me into VR, and I hope that we reach a point where I can do those again, but like actual with my hands instead of like
There
a
was
button being an individual finger or whatever. Gosh, imagine going to like a virtual convention, like the thing that BlizzCon just did like this last year. They were entirely virtual too. Um, with like one, but like going to a virtual convention with one of those gloves and like shaking a hand of like a voice actor or something, and you could feel that like the first. Oh, that would be so cool.
yeah, yeah.
Virtual events in the future. I mean, like the real future, not the future that we have, that we thought we were gonna have when we were little and the Jetsons were a thing.
Yeah.
Um, the real future. Those, I can only imagine. It's gonna be so great.
Hmm. Well, so I'm hoping. So of course, so I'm moving to Seattle, right? What I would love is if we're able to find enough shared experiences, not just like, hey, do you want to log on and play Remnant or Overwatch or things like that, but true immersive experiences that we can. I mean, even if it's a concert, that's not even video games. If we're able to find things like that we could experience together, I love that. If there's anything that I learned from being someone who loves hosting events during a time when you can't do that, it's that people have so many ways to connect with each other online, and like our community is really grown here in Kansas City, but we haven't even had a single local event like at all in the past year. But the fact that people feel, I mean, it builds a community digitally, and even though I haven't met so many of these new people who are in our community now that I talk to almost every day, it's just remarkable how the thing that's connecting us is the internet, which doesn't care where you live, but we still feel connected as if we're near each other. And we are near each other, but it's just a funny thing that it creates. It's like this digital space makes us feel like we're close together, even though we could be anywhere in the world, the way that we interact. I mean, especially if you're not doing like voice chat and you're just like text chatting and you say something and then hours later somebody responds and then hours later you see that and respond. Um, I want to see the world where VR chat, like the goofy meme VR chat, becomes a more common thing where we can have kind of like a town center, right? Like a spot where people can go and virtually do things together, whether it's video games or movies or whatever. I mean, maybe it's literally like I have a beer at my table, you have a beer at your table, and we jump into a VR experience that's the two of us at a table drinking beer, right? Like the simplest thing. Like not even a video game, but a cool immersive experience, a shared social experience. I'm excited for those novelties, I guess, um, so that I can like continue to experience, be as social as I can with people who are soon to be like very far away from me.
Right.
But I'm excited. I mean, people's habits are changing, whether that's like working from home or not commuting. I mean, things going virtual is just very convenient for a whole lot of reasons. And as people's demands change, I hope that the supply of these kinds of experiences grow as well. Like I said, I'm surprised they actually didn't grow more with like the Fortnite concerts. I'm surprised they didn't grow more last year than they did. But who knows? Maybe there's a whole pocket of the internet out there that is going to be revealed to me, and then you'll never see me again because I will have found the rabbit hole.
Well, I mean, at least I can come and visit you. I have an Oculus, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Carlos.
Hey now, one of these days, for sure. So, with that, there's still such a big push to get back to quote unquote the way it was. I'm
The good old
not
days.
one of those people, but yeah, um, I'm not necessarily one of those people, but I'm sure you've seen like what have you seen so far, Devi, in that that new world at Level Up?
Well, there are a lot of people that are coming in really interested in like local tournaments and things like that, local events and stuff. And we are having one soon. As of this recording, it will be tomorrow, actually. And I'm excited because at the same time, we're taking every precaution that we can to, have a local event in the tail end of this pandemic, as things are. We're gonna have, mask mandates and things like that. But at the same time, um, it's such a larger volume than I expected. I don't know how many we expected, but we're gonna have like 190 people.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
That's a really big number
I
for the
mean,
people that I've seen.
we are the third largest esports arena in the country. So, but no, I'm excited, but I'm also worried. You know what I mean? Because first of all, how does in today's climate throwing such a large scale local event look? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I mean, we have sanitization stations, we have wipes, we have like all the things. We have spare masks for people who quote unquote forgot theirs at home. Like we have all these precautions and stuff, and people will be bringing their own setups because of course they will.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I mean, I'm excited, but at the same time, it's just going to be really difficult to get used to local events after for so long having online only tournaments.
Hmm.
Especially for something like Smash Bros. You know what I mean? Which is notoriously bad online.
Yeah.
So not only am I curious to see how the local will go tomorrow, I'm curious to see how the players themselves will perform after playing on Wi-Fi for so long.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm worried about that, or not worried, but I guess curious still about that for like any fighting game. People have expressed interest in Mortal Kombat. We're having the 3v3 Call of Duty gunfire tournament, which of course is an FPS, not a fighting game, but still. Um, we're having these local events, and we are having them. It feels weird.
Yeah.
it I know it's going to be safe, especially with people now getting the vaccine and phase 4 being a thing, and it's a lot more accessible now. So people have been getting it like left and right. My timeline has been full of people saying, "Oh, it's my second day of the vaccine," blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Um, like Carlos, you're getting yours soon, right? So
Yeah.
Don't get the one I got.
Tomorrow's the second dose, so I'm looking forward to a great weekend.
Yeah.
Hey. But it's just weird thinking about where we are now compared to where we were this time last year. Um, and I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about it, but I have to work the tournament, so we gonna see.
We gonna see. Uh, I can't make it to Bonnaroo this year, but Bonnaroo is just sold out. It's in September this year. They moved it to the same revised time as last year. So it's in September, but it's sold out. 80,000 people. Can you imagine being around 80,000 people?
Not at all.
Like
No.
No shot.
I know everybody's gonna have a great time because that place is magical. But holy cow, I can't even wrap my head around that number. I mean, still when I see photos, like I'm on their website right now to double check how many people are in attendance. Just seeing these pictures of like years past when I was there, it makes me queasy seeing everybody stacked up against each other like that. And I love that stuff, or certainly I did. But
Yeah,
yeah,
life back then was so questionably unsanitary.
oh yeah, yeah. When they were originally trying to have their like festivals kept pushing back their dates last year, being like, oh, it'll be fine by June, July, August, September, November. I don't know. And,
Next year.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, dude, for everybody who's been to a festival, those are not clean places. Like, I don't care how they think people are gonna act, but if one person has COVID, every person is walking out of that place with COVID. I don't know what you think is gonna happen.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, now it's a little easier to stomach, but they kept pushing it back, and it was just like, even with the most optimistic projections, it's just like, there's no way. Like, what are you thinking? But,
Yeah, certainly. That reminds me of like a voice actor who tweeted out just wearing a mask to and from flights to places such as that, like festivals or conventions or things like that. He has drastically cut down on like what's called con funk, which is basically anytime you go to an anime convention, you're guaranteed to get sick for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so culturally and colloquially, it's called con funk. But like our culture before COVID was just so bad about hygiene. You know, you look at other countries like Japan, who, if you have a head cold, you're just like, oh, mask immediately, no question. And then you have people here who are just like, I ain't putting on no piece of fabric. I'm so hard to breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you gross. Like,
Yeah.
so the fact that I'm glad we ain't going to be walking out there with confunk. So
Yeah.
hopefully, you know, I mean, people still gotta wash their hands
Yeah.
and whatnot. So
Yeah. I really
No
hope
Cheetos
there's...
on the floor.
Yeah. I think anybody who's been to a convention can relate to that. I really do hope there's some positive change in that direction, where people will actually hold each other a little more. Accountable on like basic hygiene standards.